All right, welcome back to the Beast Game Podcast, and today we're talking about Uncharted. It is based off of a video game, has been on the PlayStation. This movie is directed by Ruben Fleischer. So Ruben Fleischer has done movies like Zombieland, Double Tap, and kind of the Sony connection with this. Obviously, this game was on the Sony PlayStation. He had done Venom, which that movie was not good. Had produced Venom, Let There Be Carnage. This movie is written by Rafi Jukins, Art Markham, and Matt Holloway, and some of those people are associated with that Real Time show on Amazon. This movie stars Tom Holland, horribly miscast as Nathan Drake, Mark Wahlberg, who, when this movie was supposed to come out nearly 10 years ago or so, was supposed to play Nathan Drake, as Sully, Victor Sullivan, Antonio Banderas as Santiago, Sophia Ali as Chloe Fraser, and Tati Gabrielle as Braddock, and everybody else in the movie really does not matter. But synopsis is, street smart Nathan Drake is recruited by seasoned treasure hunter Victor Sully Sullivan to recover a fortune amassed by Ferdinand Magellan and lost 500 years ago by the House of Moncada. The movie starts off with two brothers. So if you're familiar with the video games, that Nathan Drake has a brother. So it's Nate and his brother Sam. His brother Sam is older. So they're breaking into a museum to steal something. And I guess they're both living in a boarding house, like an orphanage or something. So they get separated. So again, this is while they're still young. Because they're separated, Nathan does not see his brother. And by this time, young Nathan is now Tom Holland Nathan. He's working in a bar. He meets somebody at the bar. She just kind of rebuffs him off. And then Sully, Mark Wahlberg's character, appears saying that he has some information possibly about his brother and that Nathan is somewhat of a pickpocketer, treasure hunter, historian, scammer. With their interactions, Tom Holland doesn't want anything to do with him, but Mark Wahlberg offers him something, gives some questions about his brother. So Nathan decides to join Mark Wahlberg, but again, it's all in regards to Antonio Banderas. There's a cross that is being sold at an auction. This cross is linked to some Spanish gold, and from that point on, it just really becomes this race against time that you have to stop the bad guys from getting the gold first. So for Nathan, it's really about to figure out what happened to his brother. His brother was off looking for something related to this gold, leaving hints. Mark Wahlberg's character, Sully, if Sully's really in it for himself, does he respect Nathan Drake? And then a lot of the movies also focused on Chloe Fraser, Sophia Ali's character, have different motives. Antonio Banderas and Tati Gabrielle are the antagonists for this. So again, it's about who's going to get there first. This movie is bland. If you've seen something like Tomb Raider or movies like National Treasure 2, it's one of those where they just fill all the quiet moments in with all this unnecessary historical malarkey mixed in with let's go globe hopping. A couple little bit of action scenes. I don't think that any of the action scenes were memorable. There's always a point where there has to be a double cross. There always has to be a double cross. Again, that Tomb Raider movie, same thing. National Treasure, same thing. It's all formulaic to a point where it's mediocre, but it's watchable. And it's not terrible, but it's going on with video games, and especially that the one that Sam shows up in, that they were all trying to remember their childhood or something. Regardless of what happens, Nathan Drake should be much older. And then Sully should be way older, like maybe 60s. Happens here is that because Sony has a relationship with Tom Holland, this movie is likely a contractual obligation for Tom Holland. If you remove the video game aspect of this out of it, it is okay. But when you put it into the video game context, the history that the video games have, I wouldn't revisit this movie for any. There's really not too much to go back to about this, but again, it's all formulaic to a certain point. It's kind of comical because they try to recreate scenes from the video games, whether it be Nathan Drake falling, Nathan Drake fighting, Nathan Drake falling out of the sky. It's like they just looked at the video games and then, oh, let's do this, let's do that, mixed in with some wishy-washy story. A better version of this is something like Mission Impossible. Mission Impossible is formulaic. It has been formulaic for the past 4 or 5 movies, but it works. The worst offender of this is something like Fast and the Furious. Like, those movies are formulaic, and they've gotten worse, even though Big Mike likes them. But this movie, really hope they don't make a sequel. The reason why movies like this come out in February is because movie companies don't have faith in the movie. And obviously, some things around coronavirus is changing. People will likely be going back to the theaters. The Tom Holland magic really only applies to Spider-Man. It does not apply to this movie. Very little other movies that Tom Holland has been in that does not involve Disney that people might remember. So I've seen him in certain things like Lost City of Z. The acting in it is passable. I mean, it's just like every few minutes somebody's running away from something. We have to fill in this historical BS about the Spanish did this and the Spanish did this, and then they went from here to here, and this is this, and then meanwhile, Tom Holland's character, Nathan Drake's looking at postcards from his brother. It gets to a point where it's like, why does this movie exist this point in time? 10 years past when it should have come out. There's still that Nathan Fillion YouTube short that he had done years back. That is much better than this movie, that short sequence. And then you also have the voice of Nathan Drake in this, Nolan North. He's in this for a hot second. But having said all this negative stuff, I'm going to give this 4.5 to a 5. Again, it's not good, but it's not the worst thing that I've saw. I mean, it's not like Assassin's Creed bad. Assassin's Creed bad is terrible. But this is, that Tomb Raider movie, but it's bad. This is just like, if it's on, I can watch it, and that's it. So that's the Beast Game Pod.